When you look at the future of Auburn's offense, you got to feel pretty good about it.
You are Locked On Auburn, your daily podcast on the Auburn Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, welcome on into Locked On Auburn, your daily Auburn Tigers podcast. I'm your host, Zac Blackerby, and thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day. Happy Charlie Tuesday to all who celebrate. We're joined by Auburn message board legend, Charlie 5. And I think when you look at the future of this Auburn offense, there's a lot of guys that we think are either in the process of stepping up or are going to be a part of this Hugh Freeze offense that slowly takes over the course of the next few seasons. Charlie 5, and we saw a specific wide receiver do that, maybe start to make his ascension in the win against Mississippi State.
Oh, yeah. Caleb Burton, I think it speaks a lot. I don't know if it's been the last 3 or 4 games where he's gotten the very first target, like of each game, like they go straight to him to start off the game. And then the biggest thing that we've not been able to see from a lot of receivers is being able to get separation. Yeah. We just don't ever see, I feel like we just don't ever really see our receivers just running wide open. And I know he dropped the pass, but that there was that time where he was just by himself wide open, and then he completely torched his guy so bad earlier before that they had to grab his jersey and hold him. Otherwise, it was going to be an easy touchdown. Like he had completely beaten his guy. He was gone. Maybe there was a safety that could have made the play, but it was he had to be held. The guy saved a humongous play. And I think just the early going to him early in the game and then seeing him be able to create separation, and he's so young. I think he's only like a redshirt freshman or maybe a sophomore at the oldest. He's got a long time.
Redshirt freshman, yeah,
long time left to play, and I'm pumped about this kid.
Yeah, I've got his PFF page up here, and it says his draft eligible year is 2026. I don't think that's correct. I think it's 2025, but still, we've got him for a minute. Yes. And he can't transfer, right? We've talked about the beauty of getting these younger, talented guys that spend 1 year somewhere, and then they transfer, and it's like, well, you're stuck here until you graduate unless you want to sit out a year. So I think that's nice, too, especially with the flip and the turnover that happens in this wide receiver room this offseason that we think is going to happen, but we'll see. They use Caleb Burton a little bit differently this week. And you mentioned a few of the times when he got open, and ironically, you didn't include his catch, right? Which was, I believe, on third down, but it was an in-breaking route, which is something that we haven't seen a whole lot at Auburn over the last decade. So that was exciting. But this game against Mississippi State, they lined him up more outside than they have in any other game. He had 8 snaps at the outside wide receiver, which tells me one thing, Charlie 5, and you tell me if you think I'm reading too much into this. But I think when you look at how these wide receivers in this room have been used, they've almost forced it to some of these outside wide receivers when they felt good about the slot guy, right? They felt good about Jay Fair. They felt good about Javarius Johnson when he was healthy. And now, obviously Caleb Burton, we kind of assumed he would be a slot guy. And this is the first time he had more snaps out wide than he did in the slot. And I think it's because they realized these are the 3 best wide receivers in the room. And it's like, I don't care if they're all slot guys. Let's just get them on the field. We'll figure it out down the road. And I love that. I love that the fact is let's just get the best guys on the field. You remember a few years ago when they couldn't figure out how to get Seth Williams and Anthony Schwartz on the field at the same time because they played the same position? It's like, stop it. Put them both on the field. Put your best receivers on the field at the same time. And I think that's exactly what Auburn did against Mississippi State. And I mean, I think you saw more effectiveness at every level of Auburn's offense on Saturday, and that was one of the reasons why.
Oh yeah, it works on Xbox. Why not? Why not do it in real life? Look, and here's another Caleb Burton. He's 5'11", so he's not like a miniature slot guy. You know what I mean? Like he's right on that borderline of I could play in and out. So I like having that guy outside. Like you had Jarvis Landry and Odell Beckham Jr. They were like 6 foot, just freak athletes on the outside. And I know Jarvis played a little bit everywhere, but maybe he could be something. I'm not saying comparing him, but like you don't necessarily have to be 6'4" on the outside to make it work. And if he can get open, he gets separation. I mean, he's able to do it. So that is to me is a gift. a lot more than it's really hard to just teach that. That's something that's sort of like a God-given ability, and he has it. And he was dinged up a little bit earlier in the year, and he's becoming healthy, and he clearly is working his tail off, because Hugh almost calls him out in every single press conference about how hard he's working and how hard they want to reward that. And I don't know. I'm like mega pumped about. It's funny, he had one or two catches, but I was like more excited.
2 targets. Yeah,
I was more excited about the drop and the hold. You know what I mean? Because he just runs right by people and gets open. And I think the catches will obviously take care of themselves. But
yeah, and I mean, like he got a ton of targets either, right? I mean, nobody got a lot of targets except for like Rivaldo. Right. I think had 4, which is great, sure. But. Just for the sake of talking about the rest of these guys, Javaris Johnson, he had 14 snaps at slot, 5 out wide. And so once again, like you saw him line up a little bit. Jay Fair is a true slot guy. He played all but 1 snap in the slot. So that's how he's going to be used. But Payton Thorne asked about him. He said, you watch him more and more, and you can see that he's a skilled receiver. He's a good route runner, and he really cares about a lot. I have a ton of respect for him and just want to keep growing with him. Talking Payton Thorne, talking about Caleb Burton. And I just think when you look at the future of this offense, I'm not sold Payton's going to be the guy next year. I don't know. I genuinely don't know. He can leave if he wants to. Maybe he feels better about staying after this past week. And if they keep winning, I don't know. I don't know. But regardless, Caleb Burton is going to be a piece of this offense moving forward, because a lot of these dudes, like, I wouldn't be shocked if they left, and a lot of these dudes are going to run out of eligibility. A lot of the guys who transferred in are going to be out of eligibility. Your Mardners, your Shorter, your Hooks, like those guys are going to be out of eligibility. And then you look at it like, okay, is Malcolm Johnson Jr. happy, or is he going to leave? How's Jay Fair feel about this? I assume Jay Fair feels good, but I don't know. I don't know that. Malcolm, but Caleb Burton, he has to stay. He can't transfer. So I think
there's some pieces
part of that.
There.
Yeah, I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it. You have him. He'll be a redshirt sophomore next year. You pair him with your Perry Thompsons and your Bryce Canes and your Malcolm Simmons, and I think you hit the portal again, and you try to get 1 or 2 older guys again. And I think you just kind of roll with what you got. And I don't hate that. I don't hate that at the wide receiver room moving forward, because we were kind of hoping 1 or 2 of these guys would step up. And I think Javaris Johnson, I think Jay Fair, and I think Caleb Burton are the guys. And now they're starting to figure out how to use them on the field at the same time. I think it's in a good spot.
Shoot, if you land a Perry Thompson, a Ryan Williams and a Cam Coleman in this class, somehow you pull that off.
Sure.
Maybe you only need 1 portal guy, and maybe you only need like 1 seasoned guy on the outside that's specifically 6'2" and above or whatever type guy. But yeah, I like some of the younger pieces that we have here moving forward. And it's good to see them sort of stepping up a little bit. We haven't talked about him yet, but Jeremiah Cobb, like I'm excited to see. He's so versatile and like the different things he can do. And shoot, Damari, Damari comes back, first game, and he has a beautiful, a big first down run where he, makes an awesome cut. He's not necessarily worried about his body. He just goes. I mean, you got a lot of young guys that can steal, that are just going to get better.
I'm with you, dude. And then Connor Lew, right? Connor Lew gets 1 start and then 1 SEC freshman lineman of the week. So, I mean,
it's weird how that. Did you notice how off that he's SEC lineman of the week, but he was like one of the lowest rated PFF grades. They must have really dinged him for when he snapped it into his hind end.
Yeah, but Gunnar Britton was co-lineman of the week.
Yeah.
And he was bottom 3 on the team. And all. So like PFF is good for like charting things.
Sure.
I don't always love their grades, but I love their like charting ability, then like pressure rate and like what they assign like as a quarterback hit versus a hurry. I think all that's good, but overall grades, like take them with a grain of salt.
Sure. It gives some context, but I agree. It's not the whole story.
Yeah. And I think it's better like season long, not game by game. So
Connor Lew's a monster.
Because Connor Lew's graded really well. I think he was the 2nd highest on offense against Ole Miss, if I remember correctly. And so it's like,
I would be curious to see if like an Avery Jones, when he comes back, if he gets give him a run at guard, because I know Hugh said today Stutz was really beat up. If that's could be a possible solution moving forward. So
yeah, I want Connor Lew to start every game.
I don't want him to ever leave the field. I want to get him oxygen, get him cold towels, whatever he needs, a masseuse, something on the sidelines to have him ready. I want him every snap. He's got to be there.
Connor, will this make you happy? Okay, we'll get it for you.
Yeah,
we'll get it for you. No, and I just think it's so big for the future of the program to say, like, okay, Connor Lew, our center, this guy that is way ahead of schedule, he's already started, virtually half of a season going into his true sophomore season. I think that'd be great. I think it kind of allows you to have a better plan going into the offseason as far as how you want to construct the offensive line. Like, do you feel good about Muskrat being a guard or a tackle? Do you feel good about Dylan Cinda stepping in at one of these guard spots? Does Dylan Wade come back? I mean, once again, like starting with Connor Lew at center, like, I think the offensive line, talking about the future of this offense, like I think there's a lot of things to be excited about with the future of this offense, which is exciting.
Absolutely.
Okay. Hugh Freeze made an interesting comment. It's one of his better pressers, I think. Like he told us a lot. It was fantastic. But there was something that he talked about with like plans with the quarterbacks and what he thought about Payton's performance. And then he kind of put a little thing about Robbie in there. And I want to kind of pontificate and speculate what that could potentially mean. That's coming up right here on Locked On Auburn. Today's show is brought to you by our friends at Game Time. Game Time is the best app to buy last-second tickets or tickets weeks ahead of time. Doesn't matter if it's for sports or theater or the arts. Doesn't matter what it is. Game Time has you covered. And I want to encourage you to download the Game Time app today. It's free. And when you do make an account on the free app, use code LOCKEDONCollege to get $20 off that first purchase. The credits just go right into your account. Very, very easy to use. But I love it because you don't have to worry about like comparing prices. It does it for you. It also shows you what the vantage point is going to look like in your seat at the venue. It's a great app. So download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create that account, redeem code LOCKEDONCollege, all one word, for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices, guaranteed. Today's show is also brought to you by our friends at Alumni Hall. Alumni Hall is the best place to buy Auburn gear. If you're watching on YouTube, this is where I bought this pullover. It's where I buy all of my Auburn swag because it's the best. And look, my favorite thing about it is, anything you get there is going to be officially licensed. Some of y'all were looking at Charlie Five's hat earlier. You're like, what is that? That doesn't make a whole lot of sense. The logo on his head. You don't have to worry about that. If you go to Alumni Hall. Did you buy that hat at alumnihall.com?
Absolutely not.
Nope, you didn't.
Could have.
And you could nope, you couldn't have. You could not have, because
I should have bought a hat from there, and I wouldn't be confused. Like I'm looking at myself right now.
You're like, what's on your head right now? I don't even know what that is. I don't even know what that is.
This was the rejected A when they redid the logo, I think.
Yeah. Nothing rejected about Alumni Hall. They love everything. They love everything.
Except all.
Including veterans and college kids. If you go there and you tell them you're one of those things, they'll give you, I think it's 10% off. They'll give you a discount for sure. They got 3 physical locations in Auburn, Opelika, and Huntsville. You can also go to alumnihall.com. All right, Charlie 5. Interesting quote from Hugh Freeze. He said, it's time, as I told them this week, it's time for us to put up or shut up and figure out who can run the things we want to run. He's talking about the quarterbacks here. I thought both showed signs this week in practice of improvement. He started hot, and I felt good about our plan, talking about Payton. We had a plan for Robbie, too. We just didn't ever really get to it. I thought Payton played really well. It was good to see. That was a solid day, and he took care of the ball well. And I think that's interesting, the note about Robbie. So I want to know, did the plan for Robbie not happen because Payton was playing so well and Robbie was just kind of a plan B? Was he using the red zone or was he going to be using the red zone, but Auburn scored kind of from far out past the red zone? They weren't in the red zone yet in those first 2 touchdown passes to pass the hooks, the pass to Javaris Johnson. Then the only time they were really in the red zone, Charlie 5, was that drive right before the half.
You couldn't really sub.
You couldn't sub because they were in a hurry, and that was an incredible drive by the Auburn offense. So What do you think? Do you think it was a backup plan that wasn't needed? Do you think it was a red zone Robbie type thing that wasn't needed because those snaps didn't really happen and it was just the flow of the game? What do you think he meant by that?
It's really tough. It's really tough because part of me thinks that's I don't know that there was actually a Robbie package. Like, I don't know that was actually part of the plan. And the reason is, earlier in the press conference, he basically says, I told them we're running with one quarterback and that's it. Like, he basically said that. He said, I told him that's just the way it was going to be, when he had the meetings. So I don't know if that was just sort of something I really don't know. I don't know that there was a plan for Robbie to play really at all in that game. I feel like they were like, here's what we're going to do. Payton, you want to talk about how, you're not in a situation to be successful, or you never had to do this? Fine. You know what? Go out there and do it. And he did it. I think that was kind of the plan. He did it in practice. He did it. Hugh said he did it in practice, and then obviously he did it in the game against Mississippi State. They were confident that they could control the ball with Payton and run tempo, which is what they want to do when they don't feel like they have to necessarily super worry about the offense. At least that's the opposing offense, which is kind of the vibe I've been getting. But I think I kind of said something similar last week. But yeah, I just don't know. I think the Robbie stuff, I don't want to say the Robbie stuff. I'm just going to say quarterback swapping. I think that the next 3 games, I don't think you're going to see a lot of that, period. I just don't think there's going to be much of that, because I don't think that we worry about our defense being able to defend or hang with. We're not worried about getting in a track meet, I guess. You can run what you want to run, and then if you have to punt, you got the defense. The defense can pick you up, because you're not playing any juggernaut offenses, and you're not going to be down 14-0 before you can blink if you have to punt on the first go around. So I don't know. I don't know what to take about it, because he said that, but then he said earlier, the thing about, I said we're going to do it this way, and that's just how we're going to do it. So I don't know. I don't really know what to take about.
Me either, man. I mean, it's just kind of the next step in this weird saga of having multiple quarterbacks and not having multiple quarterbacks, because the messaging going into last week's game was expect to see both quarterbacks. And while that's technically true, we did see both quarterbacks. The assumption was like, you're going to see both of them like have legitimate snaps, and that wasn't really exactly what happened. So the only other thing I'll say that maybe there was a plan for Robbie and it just didn't happen. Maybe some credence. Robbie was like visibly, seemed visibly let down. There are a few pictures of him on the sideline that kind of made their way around social media.
I don't know if that was, I don't know. He could have not been feeling well, whatever, but I don't know if that had something to do. Hey, I expected this, and then we didn't get this. Maybe there's some connection there too. I don't really know.
Yeah, I don't either. And I don't think we'll really know until we see, what the quarterback swapping or rotation looks like against Vanderbilt. So
if it's Robbie or if it's Payton, I don't care. Just go. I don't think either one of them super duper separate themselves from the other. Payton looked really, really good. He had an incredibly efficient day. If that's who we're going to go with, just go with it. Just go with it. Henceforth, there's no threat. There should be no threat from an opposing offense for at least 3 games. So go run your tempo, your RPOs, go fast, and just light it up. Get the lead, put the game away, and then let's come home and work on the next week.
So you just kind of hinted at it. Are Auburn fans too confident over the next 3 games? I say no. We discuss in just a moment right here on Locked On Auburn. Today's show is brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. FanDuel is the official sports betting partner of the NFL and the Locked On Podcast Network. Right now at FanDuel, you can get Auburn 13.5. Auburn minus 13.5 if that tickles your fancy. If you think Auburn's going to go up there and blow out Vandy, you need to head over to FanDuel.com/lockedon and take the Tigers. Take the Tigers to cover. And right now, new customers, they can get $150 back in bonus bets with any winning $5 money line bet. So that's $150 if your team wins. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action. The app's easy to use with spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to kick off your sports winning. Once again, FanDuel.com/lockedon. Charlie 5, final few minutes of this edition of Charlie Tuesday here on Locked On Auburn. Are Auburn fans too confident now over the next 3 games? Because this win, it's crazy what one win does, but it kind of felt like medicine, man. It felt so good.
Yeah.
For the soul, man. For the soul. We're yelling at each other less. It's great. It's great. But there's a lot of folks, that myself included, that are looking ahead to Vanderbilt, looking ahead to Arkansas, then New Mexico State, and saying, wow, okay, we're going to end up where we thought we would be going into the Iron Bowl at 7-4. And there is a section of the fan base that says, hold off, they've got to win them. And while that's true, I don't think Auburn fans are being too confident. I think they should expect to win at Vandy, and I think they should expect to win at Arkansas, Charlie 5.
I agree. I was kind of shocked. I was watching SEC Nation or one of their shows, and they were going through Auburn, and they were showing like the percentage chances that they'll win each game, and it was like way up there for Vandy, but it was only 43% at Arkansas. And I think that percentage changes big time if they lose to Florida this weekend, which is that puts them out of bowl eligibility. If they win that game, you play Auburn at home. You possibly could make a little rally. And look, I know some people hate on KJ Jefferson. I think anytime he's back there, it's a threat. But I just don't think they have he's a threat, but I don't think they have a whole lot around him. So you win this week, you got confidence. What kind of can we play well on the road? Can Payton play well on the road? That will be a test. But I mean, I don't think you should feel wrong for feeling confident over the next 4. You should. We should be favored in all 3 games. We're a 13.5-point favorite this week. I think we'll probably be close to a touchdown next week. And then, New Mexico State, then you're 7-4, like you said, and you get Alabama at home, and they play LSU this weekend. What's going to happen? What could happen there? And what kind of motivation are they going to have if they would drop that one, leading into the Iron Bowl? So I don't think I don't think it's wrong to feel super confident. I mean, I think you should be able to handle business the next 3 weeks.
I think so. I mean, this season's kind of gone chalk.
It really has.
So if that's the case, then I think Auburn's going to be in a good spot. Yeah, you mentioned Arkansas and Florida. According to our friends at FanDuel, Florida is a 6.5-point favorite against Arkansas. That's in Gainesville too. And so even if Arkansas wins, though, I mean, I think that's a physical game. Sure. And they're traveling. I mean, that's a tough place to play. I don't care what state of the program, Florida is at right now. It's just tough to win in Gainesville. But
I know I saw there's something else. Pittman's buyout, if he has a sub 500 season, I think reduces in half. So if he loses this weekend, that guarantees that he's going to have a sub 500 season. So you could see a coaching ouster. Like you could see they could pull the trigger right there on Pittman after this game, because that would, if they lose, because that would guarantee a sub 500 year. It's cheaper to get rid of him. Then you go to Arkansas with, possibly no head coach. So there, a lot could happen, but I even if they win, I still feel like you should be able to handle business over the next 3 weeks.
Me too. And there's been several people that have kind of said, hey, they've changed their offensive coordinator. Their offense could get better. It was an internal hire, and you can't really change who you are at this point of the season. Yeah. Their offensive line's not going to magically get better. Their defensive line's not going to magically get better. And that's where a lot of their issues are, in the trenches. So KJ Jefferson's still very good. Don't get me wrong. I mean, this is a guy that was voted, preseason, QB1 at SEC Media Days for a reason. He certainly deserved that, but I just don't see that changing. And as far as Vanderbilt goes, a lot of Auburn fans have echoed what Hugh Freeze said at his presser yesterday about how he's always kind of had trouble playing there for whatever reason. I don't know. A team that can run the ball as well as Auburn can, I'm just not buying it.
Yeah, no, I just like when I was in high school, we were playing the team that hadn't won a game in 3 years, and our coach had us feeling like we were going to lose. Like hey, you get up here and you up and they'll beat you. And it's like, Okay. No, we won't, but I respect you. I respect that. And then you go rattle off and you score 5 straight touchdowns. So it's like, I mean, I get it.
Yeah.
But you got to get up there and handle business.
Charlie 5, how can people check out everything you've got going on?
Absolutely. Find me on Twitter at @the_Charlie_5 in the Locked On Auburn message board every single day, or auburnlive.com, the corner message board.
Yes. And you can find all my written work at auburndaily.com, and we will see you tomorrow. This has been Locked On Auburn.